Recent speeches and interviews by Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong talked a lot about the cryptocurrency business. I think a lot of people didn't understand what he was saying because he talked a lot about the current debt crisis that the US and other world leaders are going through. He said that this problem needs to be fixed right away, and that cryptocurrency is the best way to do that. Brian Armstrong says that if governments don't do this, you and I can do ourselves by starting to collect cryptocurrency as a hedge against these money systems that will either fail or keep using hyperinflationary measures to stay in business. I think we can all agree that hyperinflation and making money right now are both bad for us because it makes the dollar less valuable, which helps the government pay its debts, but doesn't help you or me at all. Bruce Armstrong really breaks this down, which is why I wanted to talk about it and show you some clips in today's video. First, I'll show you a clip from Brian Armstrong. We'll start with a short one and then talk about some things that are affecting the markets and other things, like why I think everyone should get 1,000 XRP. Now that you have their attention, click that like button. But I was interested in something you said on stage that made me think that Bitcoin might become the world's main currency because the US debt is getting so big. How likely is that to happen? Is it really clear at this point? Not really. It's clear that governments around the world are having a hard time keeping their deficit spending in check. If you look at history, you'll see that different powers, like those that held the reserve currency at different times, changed the world order. When you separate money from hard goods, you can't help but say that they get overprinted and stretch. To be clear, I want the US to keep its position as the reserve currency. I think a strong America is good for the whole world, and I also think that cryptocurrencies like USDC and safe coins are great for the dollar. That being said, I think Bitcoin will have to become the standard currency at some point, whether people like it or not. The Chinese RMB don't be it because I think they already have too much debt. Also, the fact that Bitcoin is at an all-time high at the same time as US debt is not a coincidence. In your talk, you also showed a great map. What is that one thing that makes that happen? When we reach a certain level of debt, we need to worry about the US dollar being the world's reserve currency. Yeah, I mean, there's not usually a slow boil. If you look at other countries, things start to go wrong around 150% or 200% of their GDP. So we'll have to see what happens. I hope that Congress, which is doing a great job, by the way, I can pass crypto-friendly laws. This administration has done a great job. So I think there's a lot to be grateful for. But I hope the US government can cut back on spending to save the American experiment. Do you agree with Elon that the tax bill that might pass could be the start of an economic crisis? Okay, there are a lot of moving parts here, but Brian Armstrong, I'm reading both sides of this, and I don't know enough to say for sure. To be honest, you're asking questions that are a bit above my pay grade. But I think you know that this bill can't fully address spending that people choose not to make. That bill might need to be followed up with another one. Let's hope they work on that and make this bill the best it can be. There might need to be a different law to cut spending in other areas. Some important things were said, like crypto could be the answer to the problem. Let's talk about some of the countries that Brian Armstrong talked about again. The Dutch Empire had trade routes all over the world, and at one point the Dutch pound was the world's reserve currency. But when they got deeply in debt to all of their trade partners and couldn't pay it back, their currency crashed. The English Empire did the same thing. They lost to the US. Now we're in the US and we're having the same problem that England, the Dutch Empire, and even the Roman Empire had. They couldn't pay their foreign debts. This is clearly a bad thing that needs to be fixed, Brian. Armstrong seems to think that safe coins like Bitcoin and altcoins are the way to go. I tend to agree with him. As you can see, Trump's choice of safe coins makes a lot of sense. These are the coins that buy US bonds. That's great for Trump. It will make more people want to buy those bonds, which will make it easier for him to pay off his debt. Hopefully, this will bring down the US's debt to GDP ratio to a level that can be handled. Let's face it, the US has a very high debt to GDP ratio, and things don't look good. Japan is what I want to look at when they have a lot of debt. There's no doubt that you want to avoid it. That being said, the markets are also being changed by other things, right? Since JP Morgan now says that oil prices could rise to as high as $130.00 per barrel on foreign trade, it's clear that the conflict between Israel and Iran will have a big impact. That will obviously mean a big rise in prices, which will lead to pretty high inflation around the world since everyone buys and sells oil. If someone in China or Taiwan has to pay more to ship their goods and services to the US, that cost will be passed on to them in the end. And most of these businesses don't want to pay these extra fees. It's very clear now that Iran produces about 3.3 million barrels of oil every day, which is 3.5% of the world's oil supply. How could the price of oil go up to X when 3% of the world's supply is no longer coming online? Many people have asked me. What's the short answer? Other companies can raise their prices because there is less oil on the market. There is a lot of evidence that charging too much is bad business. This will cause prices to rise everywhere. The reason I'm showing you this on a crypto movie is to show you how valuable crypto is right now. Note that the value of goods and services has a big effect on the value of the dollar, but not so much with cryptocurrency. During times of conflict, when people don't know what will happen, crypto prices may drop right away. This does happen. Most of the time, the return is very good. I also think XRP is a great choice and a good way to deal with these kinds of issues if the dollar keeps falling in value because the US can't pay its debt, which happens when they make money. That's just how I'm thinking about it, but I know that the US will print more money if this does happen and oil does go to $130.00 per barrel, as JP Morgan says. This will cause inflation and more money to flow through the markets, which will make digital assets more valuable. We've seen this happen many times before, so it's not hard to figure out what I think is most likely to happen. This is not likely to happen. The Kibbutz letter seems to think that interest rate cuts will have to be put off even longer because of the rising cost of living. What do you think will happen? Basically, a lot is going on right now, and no one knows for sure what will happen. But here's something to keep in mind. XRP is worth $216.00 per coin right now. I bought these dips on this red day, and I still have ready to go sell. I'm very strong on all red days. XRP going below $2.00 a coin would let me open up more XRP logs, which makes me happy. I've seen these returns before. I saw what happened here on May 8th. If you want to see all of my posts and every trade I make for free, join Crypto Crusaders through my link below and sign up on one of my 2 partner exchanges to get access to the cool bonuses you can see below. Fear of the unknown, mass sell-offs. No strife like this is a tough situation. This is where the big sales happen. Then, institutions make the final decision. We overreacted. They bought in a huge snowball rise that led to new highs, right? I believe that will happen.